Well, good evening, all. I'm Epstein, and here we are with your metal market wrap-up. And this wrap-up is for the evening, as we're here now on Wednesday, Liberation Day, I don't know, Tariff Day, I don't know. It's some combination of that. And it is about 6:20 p.m. Central Time on this April 2nd. All right, so where are we? Before we even look at the markets together, let's do this. You have a 10% baseline tariff from everybody that wants to sell into America. That is a difference. Countries thought at first maybe they'd get a 20%, and that was the number. We had heard rumors. That's not how it worked. So there's a 10%. Then there's a formula, and I don't understand the formula, but the Trump administration people are looking at VAT taxes. They're looking at tariffs and currency manipulation on some 60 to 65 countries. That's what they published in their tariff book today. And they came up with a number. So you get a 10% tariff, and then they take a look at that. And then out of the grace of the goodness of the president, he picked a number about half of that to be what the total tariff is. Nobody walks away unscathed that wants to sell in America. So if you want to sell your product here and you don't make it here, you have a 10% tariff. If you make it abroad and you're like China, where you've got a 20% penalty tariff to start with, and then he says there's another tariff of 68%, he ends up with about a 54% tariff on Chinese goods coming to America. That's pretty big. Vietnam gets hit really hard. I mean, I show you right here, China's going to be 54%. India is going to have 26%. Japan goes to 24%. The UK stays at the minimum, 10%, and Taiwan goes up to 32%. Now, understand where I think part of this goes. There were exemptions. Gold, copper, remember I've been telling you, copper, we don't produce enough in America. I didn't think he'd go there. And copper went down tonight in a big way that you'll see because of that. Pharma, semiconductors, and lumber. So he's keeping the housing market alive, and he gave a bone, if you will, to Canada. We'll see how Canada responds to all this, but that's what he did. The 25% fentanyl tariff on Canada and Mexico stays in place, but no reciprocal tariffs at this time on Canada and Mexico. He will honor the USMCA deal. About 25% on automobile imports start Thursday night for everything not USMCA. So if you're Hyundai in Asia and you're sending your cars here and you don't manufacture them, you have effective in 2 nights or so a 25% tariff going on your car. In Europe, Mercedes, Audi, Porsche, they've all got to decide which models. Do they keep selling them? Can they absorb part of that? Will the public absorb part of the price if they want it? You know, higher price items go that way, but the lower price starter cars, there's not a lot of room there. So that is how I see it going. Now, here's where I think it takes you. I think it takes you into the point where the president is going to keep the 10% tariff on for a long time. He might keep it as a chip in his pocket going into midterm elections, and it may stay on during his whole term. You don't know. But everything else will be on the table, and very shortly you will hear the countries, first they'll come out against America, then behind the scenes they'll start the negotiations, and in a process, these tariffs will start coming down. But don't look for the 10% to go away, because he's got to keep money coming in to get his tax game going. In addition, I don't think that with these tariffs, which are the worst of all worlds, they're the hardest that people didn't expect. They did not expect this, caught the market off guard. What he'll do is he'll say, look, we won. Look at this. We're able to lower these tariffs because we've got this, we've got that. That is the game that he is playing. So accept that this caught the market off guard. I warned you going into these reports, you won't be able to protect yourself. If you were watching the markets during the speech, the market went up 1% when it thought it's 10%. That's all that the tariff's going to be. This is phenomenal. I'm watching the market take off. And then as he kept talking, I'm watching the roll happen. All of a sudden, you were down 4%. So let's go to the markets and get a picture now and take a look. You're down 1,000 points in the Dow. You're down 200 in the S&P. You're down 870 points in the NASDAQ and 100 in the Russell. All right, so you've got to look at it. In the gold market, you're approaching 3,200. I wouldn't be surprised if the pros are taking some money off the table in the gold. Why? Yes, as the night works on, it could even go higher. You don't know where the peak's going to be. But as you approach another even number of 3,200, things have a way of changing. Look at all the other metals. So if you think silver is a precious metal, it's not. It's an industrial metal, got hurt. Copper, what did I just say? You were just up in the 530s or so. Remember I told you they're going to deliver like mad, and here's more copper available because no tariffs on it. Dollar's not open. Most currencies are trying to figure out what it means for them, and it's confusing without any question at all. And the energy markets, look at how much you're down. Not because there's more energy. World slowdown in trade. So instantly you're down there. So if you think you could have called this right, I want to congratulate you. Make your money and do it. I think the average person was better off sidelined. Look at the bonds and notes. The market is suddenly pricing in more rate cuts. So let's stay with the metals. In the metal market, we're sitting here and just spiking away. You're up 2% for the week going into Thursday. We're in Thursday evening trade already. When you look at the chart here, you have not made a new high. So here's the most bullish news I can think of for the metals. Inflation, problems, world trade, and you're not making new highs. It's why I'm making my statement. Maybe there's a time and place where you start taking some money off the table. That's all that I'm saying. I could be very wrong, but if you're long and you're taking money off the table, how wrong can I be? When we look at what the market's doing here, higher lows and a spike all the way up. You can see that run. The market's now, the 18-day average is above the last break low. I told you I thought that was going to be the positive thing in the market. And you're being thwarted on this rally by the upper Bollinger Band. The bullish news is that the market still has an embedded reading, and as long as it stays embedded, that keeps the market going. If you don't make a higher high and you were to break sharply, if you don't lose that reading, the trade might be a buyer intraday in the market. When you look at the gold-silver ratio, take a look. These are new highs in this whole thing. So you're really pushing out on this. You're at 92.87. That's because the silver can't keep up with the gold in this environment at this point. When you look at the silver market, it's fallen back to the 18-day average. It hasn't entered a bear trend territory. Any close under 34.22 in the short term does that. So that's the battleground, and it's fighting right at it. Momentum down, swing line down. Are you going to get the bias down? A close under that gets the bias down. In the copper, don't be surprised if you come back at that 580 level. Notice when we got up here, I know I have been adamant, and when we rolled over in the slow stochastic, right through here, I'll take you to it as fast as I can. This was your warning sign. There's the momentum waning right here on this day. You get a reading under 70. Now, this doesn't work all the time. It works the vast majority of time, in my opinion. I have followed it for years. Gold, it did not work on just recently. In this market, it did. You're right back to the 18-day average. That ended the uptrend. Now, the question is, does it build on it? That's what you're looking to see, and it is. Here's your break that's happening. So in order to negate the downtrend, you'd have to go back up over the highs that you made right through here. Got that? When we look at the platinum market, you still have the market with the swing line up, the bias down, not just from tonight. It closed under the 18-day average. So the battleground starts at the 100-day average to the 18. I don't see a trend here, by the way, and it might fall back to the 971 level. Last but not least, we'll see how the dollar does with all this tonight, but I'm not expecting big moves in the dollar because the euro, which comprises about 57% of the weight in the dollar index, hasn't moved very much tonight. It's been actually on the quiet side. You can see, let's go to it right here. It's up 24 points. So dollar, is that worth maybe 15 points or so? Probably on the opening. That's just from that part of the weighting. Got it? So what do you do with all this? Well, I'll tell you, you're going to want to get what we write, what I'm writing tonight to my clients, what I'm showing them. I just did a TV interview. If they've sent me the link, I'll include that tonight as to what my take was on all this and how you play with it. Go to iRepstein.com, free offer, sign up for what you need, and I'll catch up with you all in my other videos tonight and first thing in the morning. Whoa, what an evening. Take care.